What's up, Penguins fans? Happy Tuesday, May the 2nd, almost to Star Wars Day, May the 4th, which will be on Thursday. We have another special episode for you all today. We're finishing up our top 6 for the player season reviews today. We'll finish up with Jason Zucker. Then we'll get to a little more on the Alex Nylander news that Danny Showery and I discussed on Monday. We'll also get to a couple of players in the system that are going overseas. And we'll get into the Game 7 that happened on Monday and what could be next for one of the Penguins' bigger rivals. Now the Penguins, they could be poised to potentially take a step next season if the right people are hired and they make the right moves, because the Rangers, and I'll be really curious to see what happens there. It's all coming up right after this drop.
You're Locked On Penguins, your daily podcast on the Pittsburgh Penguins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Locked On Penguins podcast. I'm, of course, your host, Hunter Hodes. Remember to follow me on Twitter, Hunter Hodes, follow the show's Twitter, @LMStar Penguins. And, of course, thank you all so much for making this your first listen of the day. We're free and available on all platforms. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. You can download the Gametime app right now, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. So let's jump right into it. I'm recording this during Game 1 of the Panthers-Leafs series, which has already been a lot of fun. The Panthers seems like they have this team of destiny vibes, kind of reminding me of the LA Kings of 2012 a little bit, how they're getting good goaltending, playing the opposition. No one really thought anything of them when they got in. I didn't, especially. I look like an idiot right now. And they're playing pretty well against Toronto, but we'll get to that a little bit later. But starting off today's show, we are finishing up the top 6 later this week. We'll get into the bottom 6 forwards. But Jason Zucker finishes up our top 6 player season reviews, and what a season he had. His best season in quite some time. This was the most points he had since 2017-18 when he had 33 goals and 64 points with Minnesota. This is the second most points he's actually had. 27 goals, 48 points in 78 games. This is also the second most goals that he has ever scored in his career, behind that 2018 season when he had 33 goals. He's had 20 multiple times, but it was never this good. It was a far cry, I will say, from where it was last year. He only played in 41 games, had 8 goals, 17 points in 41 games. He just took it up another notch this year. And yeah, what do you know? It's great when he's healthy, right? Truly. We finally got to see how good this player can be when healthy. And yeah, going forward, if they do re-sign him, this is probably your best case scenario. I don't think it's going to get any better than this. But I will still take 27 goals in 50 points, basically, for a top 6 winger any day of the week. It's not even a question. If you're giving me 25 for 50, 27, 30 for almost 60, anywhere in that range, and you're making $4.5 to $5 million, even a little bit more, I am perfectly okay with that. It's when the production goes below that where I start to question it a little bit, where I'm like, okay, is this going to be the case going forward? We'll get to my thoughts a little later on if they should sign Jason Zucker or not, and what my ideal contract would be. But just counting stats wise, you look at it, tremendous season. Where I don't even want to know where the Penguins would be if it wasn't for Jason this year. Of his 27 goals, 25 of them at 5v5. Yes. 25 of them at 5v5, 2 on the power play. He sometimes got on the top power play when there was a couple injuries, but not much. Mainly played on the second unit, but 25 of his 27 even strength. 14 of his 21 assists were at even strength. So he was tremendous at 5v5 this season. There's not much better, to say the least. You look at the underlyings for Jason this year, and also very, very, very strong. He played 78 games, had almost 1,100 minutes at 5-on-5 ice time. When he was on the ice, the Penguins had 55% of the shot attempts. That is his best mark of his career. Looking at natural stat trick right now, what comes close, 2014-15 with Minnesota, 54% in 2019-20 with Pittsburgh when he first came over in those 15 games, short sample size. That is the best mark of his career high. It was in terms of goals for, goals against, about 50-50 there. It's kind of been his calling card throughout his career. He's getting those tough minutes. I'm not really super worried about that. Scoring chance wise, though, that's another big one. When he was on the ice, the Penguins had 54% of the scoring chances. His best mark since 2018-19 when he was with Minnesota. Expected goals for, 64.2% of the expected goal share. Oh, the expected goals for, excuse me. Very good. In terms of the expected goal share, 57% of those. All very, very strong numbers. High danger wise, 57%. When he was on the ice, the Penguins had almost 58% of the high danger chances for, 289 for, 211 against. That is also one of his best numbers of his career, his highest since 2017, 2018. And then he was break even in high danger goals for, 32-32. On ice, a shooting percentage of 5-on-5, right around 8% for the season, which kind of goes in line with where it was the past few seasons. It was just that, he was healthy for the season. So in terms of, again, production from a top six winger, it doesn't get any better than that. I touched on it numerous times during the season. Whenever it felt like the Penguins needed a big goal, he was there. That was my big thing. Anytime they needed a spark, he was there. He was one of the top leaders on this team. Always very funny with the room with the best of the year and all that stuff. That's just off the ice. But, he is a tremendous player. He's been a tremendous leader for this team for as long as he's been here. Obviously, I would love to bring him back. It's such a tough call because, as Danny said yesterday, and I agree with him with this, you kind of have to treat this year as like a best case scenario. He's basically, at this point on the wrong side of 30. We've already seen him. He's 31 now. He'll be 32 during the parts of next season. You've already seen, I think, the best hockey you're going to see from him. It's just that, do you think he's going to produce like he did this season? Not just next season, but the season after that, potentially the season after that. What does a term look like? I want 3 to 4 years, 5.25 million. Highest I would go is 5.5. That's pushing it though. Sweet spot's 5. He's probably going to have to take a discount to come back. That's my big thing. And I think he would. We saw Brian Rust did it last year when he was the first to sign during the offseason, so you never know. But, he also could want to go out there and have a payday for himself. And really, could you blame him? I wouldn't. I would support it. It would stink to see him go. And the Penguins, it'd be interesting to see how they replace him because, Tyler Bertuzzi would be awesome. He's going to price himself out of Pittsburgh. Free agent markets outside of that's kind of, I think you would have to trade for someone, to be honest. I will say it's easier to replace someone like that than like a top 2 center, maybe. But, I would stay at my first scenario. My first option is to bring him back at 3 to 4 years, 5 to 5.25 million per. If that doesn't work, I think you might have to walk away. But obviously, I would love to have him back. He was great with Evgeny Malkin and Brian Rust. He also has great underlines with Sidney Crosby. He can play with either of the top 2 centers. He said very much during locker cleanout day that he wants to be back. Obviously, those contract negotiations are not going to start up anytime soon. It's one thing to negotiate with Alex Nylander, people. It is a whole different scenario for a bunch of interim guys alongside Mike Sullivan, who's handling the player cleanouts and the exit interviews and all that stuff. It's a whole other thing for them to do it. They have really no experience doing that. Again, 1 year, $775K, a one-way deal. Ooh, yeah, it's not hard to negotiate. This one, no, you need someone who has more experience working with that kind of contract. At least that's just how I see it. But very good season, A+ in my opinion, and really hope to see him back here next season and beyond. So that wraps up this segment of the Locked On Penguins podcast. Coming up in the second segment, we're going to get into some of the Alex Nylander stuff, look at some, dive into more of the numbers. I know Danny touched on a little bit on my Monday episode, but I want to dive in a little bit more onto how he played, since I know it's a short sample size. Then we'll get into some other news and notes with some players signing overseas before we end with some playoff talk. But before we get to that, we do have to discuss one of our newest sponsors for the show, and that is Gametime. So, buying tickets to your favorite events should not be stressful. And something's going to be very stressful for me coming up. Aerosmith just announced their farewell tour on Monday alongside the Black Rose, and I'm starting to get a little stressed about it because tickets, the pre-sale at least, are already pretty crazy. But, with Gametime, you could definitely buy tickets through there. They are the fastest and easiest way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater near you, with killer deals on last-minute tickets and their best price guarantee. You can stop stressing over the tickets and start getting hyped for the fun that you will have. They are the place for last-minute ticket deals. You can forget planning months in advance. Gametime has deals on tickets right up to the day of the event. You also can get exclusive flash details on tickets for football, basketball, baseball, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. The Gametime guarantee means you'll always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Gametime will credit you 110% of the difference. Snag the tickets without the stress with Gametime. You can download the app right now. Just search Gametime in your Android or iPhone. Create an account and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, we're back in this episode of the Locked On Penguins podcast. I am your host, Hunter Hodes. Remember to follow me on Twitter at Hunter Hodes. Follow the show's Twitter at @Penguins. And of course, thank you all so much for making this your first listen of the day. We're free and available on all platforms. So, over the weekend, we did see the Penguins have their first re-signing of the offseason. Alex Nylander, 1-year deal, one way, $775K, basically league minimum. Not much. It's okay. It is a very cheap deal. It's what a bottom six player gets. That's the end of it. I wanted to just confirm my notes that I had it right. Sometimes I get some of these a little wrong. I don't want that to be the case. I try to give my 110% accuracy for this show. But, Alex Nylander played a little bit this season for the Penguins, 9 games actually. Played almost 109 minutes at 5-on-5 for the Penguins. This was his first NHL action since 2019-20 when he played 65 games for the Blackhawks. And, his underlying's solid. Small sample size. When he was on the ice, the Penguins had 62.5% of the shot attempts for per 60. Also had 5 goals for, 4 goals against. Expected goal share, 65.5% of that. Very, very good. His scoring chances, 63.3% of the chances the Penguins had when he was on the ice. High danger chances, 62%. High danger goals for, 4-3, and then rocked a 7.1 shooting percentage. Very, very small sample, but I will obviously take that to the bank. 1 goal, 2 points in those 9 games. The 1 goal, remember, coming against the Red Wings. Right before the Penguins blew it against the Blackhawks. They played a pretty bad Red Wings team after they beat Minnesota. But still, I thought it looked like he belonged. I know 9 games, it's not much, but in terms of looking better over some of the other guys that played here this year, like a Brock McGinn, like a Kasperi Kapanen, even Jeff Carter for a lot of the season, I thought he looked like that he could play over at least half the season here. And I think the Penguins, I know a one-way deal really doesn't mean much. People are going to make a big deal out of it. Remember what Danny said yesterday? It does not. It just means, you make the same amount of money as you would in the NHL and the AHL. That's all it is. Waivers, same thing. So it's not really a big deal, people. That said, I do think it's similar in a way to the P.O. Joseph deal last year, where the Penguins are going to give every opportunity for Nylander to make this team out of camp, like they did with POJ. I think, and honestly, I could say the same about Drew O'Connor as well. They gave him every opportunity to make the team out of camp this past season. I know he didn't start on the team because the team was relatively healthy to start the year, but eventually he did come up. He showed that he belonged, and I think you're going to see that in camp next season, in the preseason, where both of those players, or at least O'Connor, should definitely be on the team, but Nylander is going to get a chance to show that he should be with the Penguins. He definitely does have some talent, but just how good can he be? That's the big question. As Danny said on my Monday episode, he's already 25 now. That's kind of like your past your peak years, but you're still kind of in your prime. But, I wouldn't expect like a massive breakout from him, but could he be a solid 3rd, 4th liner for this team? Yes. And, the Penguins, it's a no-brainer. Get him for 775K. It's cheap depth. Even if he doesn't make the team and he starts the year in Wilkes-Barre, you can probably have him be your first call-up alongside Valtteri Puustinen, Sam Poulin now that he's back with the team, a couple others. But, he showed, I think, in the 9 games last year that he can play at the NHL level and that his development has been pretty good since coming over from Chicago and playing in Wilkes-Barre. So I'm really curious to see what he does over the summer with his training program, just doing well in camp, preseason. Really, really curious to see what happens there. So those are my overall thoughts on Nylander. Good underlings, solid play away from the puck. Got some opportunities with Malkin. He could have had another goal that game against the Rangers when he came up. Could have won the game at the end of regulation. Yaroslav Halak made a really nice save on him. He was threatening on most shifts that he was on the ice, and I really liked what I saw. Again, I'm not some big Alex Nylander fanboy here, but I do think he played, better than I expected him to down the stretch. We also did see Philip Hollander. He signed a 5-year contract overseas. So the only thing the Penguins have to show for in the Jared McCann trade now is a 7th-round pick. That's magic beans. You could go get magic beans from Jack's Beanstalk Beans. Oh, that trade still looks so bad, and it looks even worse right now. I felt like it couldn't have gotten any worse. It did. I'm not going to spend too much time on it. Everyone knows how bad the trade was. But now that Philip Hollander is not even here anymore, all they have for him is a 7th-round pick. Good luck to Hollander overseas, because how he does there. And we also did see Philip Lindbergh, the Penguins' goaltending prospect, down in Wilkes-Barre. It looks like he is signed overseas as well. Seth Rorabaugh, who does great coverage for the Pittsburgh Tribune Review. He is tremendous. I love Seth. He does the A to Z series during the offseason. He did one today on Drake Kajula. He found an article today where, if I can find this here real quick, he found a Finnish website or an outlet, and he said, well, that's not the one. That's the Mikhail Granlund one. He's been going on way too many of these. Anyway, a different Finnish outlet said that Philip Lindbergh has signed with TPS of the Liga. The team has not announced anything as of yet, though, but it looks like Philip Lindbergh is not going to be in Wilkes-Barre for next season. Remember, he was a free agent signing in 2021, but he's been really banged up these past couple of seasons. I remember when he came here, he had great numbers. He was in the NCAA. He was looking like a standout goalie, but he just, he couldn't stay healthy. That was the thing. I had high hopes for him. I thought maybe he could come up here and somehow be the backup, but that's maybe best case scenario. But it just wasn't meant to be because his season was drowned by injury. So Phil Hollander and Philip Lindbergh both heading overseas. That means Wilkes-Barre will have some new goaltenders for next season. And I'm not really, my overall thoughts, guys, I'm not really too concerned about it. I'm just laughing about the McCann stuff, and then Lindbergh, it was obvious that at least this season that he was not going to make an impact in the NHL level. Maybe he'll re-up his level back overseas, but we'll have to see. I wish all the best to him with regards to that. So a little bit of Penguins news in terms of some Wilkes-Barre stuff. But that does it for this second segment. Coming up to end the show, touch a little bit on the playoffs, especially that Game 7 between the Rangers and Devils, where the Rangers could be going, how that affects the Penguins for next season. All of that's coming up after our commercial break. But before we get to that, we do have to discuss no, that's not the right one. Jeez, I have these. I almost like I'm just like picking them out of the box. We do have to discuss Athletic Greens. I use them literally every day because I didn't really have time in the morning. I wake up right before work, so I just like putting something in my body right away. I wanted more energy, better immune system. With one delicious scoop of Athletic Greens, you're absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, and probiotics to help you start your day right. This special blend of ingredients support your gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, your energy, recovery, focus, and aging. All of those things. It's also lifestyle-friendly, where you eat keto, vegan, dairy-free, or gluten-free. It also costs you less than $3 a day. You're investing in your health, and it's cheaper than your cold brew habit. It's also cheaper than getting all the different supplements yourself. Also has over 7,000 5-star reviews and is recommended by numerous professional athletes. Right now, it's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. It's just one scoop in a cup of water every day, and that's it. There's no need for a million different pills, supplements to look out for your health. And to make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/NHL Network. Again, that's athleticgreens.com/NHL Network to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. All right, I'm back in this episode of the Locked On Penguins podcast. I am your host, Hunter Hodes. Remember to follow me on Twitter, Hunter Hodes. Follow the show's Twitter at LSR Penguins. And of course, thank you all so much for making this your first listen of the day. So let's go talk about the playoffs. Again, that game 7 on Monday night was kind of a stinker. The Rangers just no-showed. And honestly, with the way their top players play in that series, I would love to be a fly on the wall in some of these fans' homes for what they would say if Sidney Crosby or Evgeny Malkin went goalless in a series the way Artemi Panarin just did. Oh, by the way, Artemi Panarin makes what, 10, 11 million per year? What would you say if Sid or Gino went goalless in a series like that? What would, the Double N fan club say? And the sports talk radio jock hosts, not even him, anyone out there, 93.7 The Fan, all that other crap. What would people be saying on social media? Oh, you would hear it. And it would be warranted because they would be bad. But Panarin stunk in that series. The Benachat stunk. Their kids stunk. Their top players got embarrassed in that series. Embarrassed, as they say from New York. That was pretty bad, wasn't it? That was pretty embarrassing. Anyways, my New York accents were really just terrible. But their star players outside of Chris Kreider and Igor Shesterkin did not show up, especially Igor. I actually kind of felt bad for him. He saved almost 9 goals above expecting that series, and they still didn't win it. This has been going on now for almost the better part of 2 decades where the Rangers are just saying, hey, our goalie's better than yours, and that's all we're going to do. We're just going to build an okay team around a god-tier goalie, and we're just going to try to see what happens. It didn't work again. And, that effort that I saw on Monday, that might lead to a coaching change, and I would not be surprised if Gerard Gallant gets fired. You're seeing the rumors already that, this was before 8 a.m. this morning, Darren Durgan's putting out there that you could see Joel Quenneville take that job if he gets approved to be reinstated by the league. Ugh. Like Stan Bowman, I don't think he deserves to work in hockey ever again. That's how I say it. I would, Rangers, I know a couple of Rangers fans who would be pretty, I don't know if they would even support the team anymore, to be honest. But, with where that team is heading from a pure Penguins perspective, I think that's a team that you could look at next season if the Penguins make the right moves and they get the right general manager here, where you could be like, okay, the Penguins could be able to make a move on that kind of team. Same as the Islanders. I don't really think they're going to be that good next season, especially if they bring the same kind of team back. I think the Penguins are also not going to lose 4 straight times to them next season. So those, especially the Islanders, I look at that team. But I look at a team like the Rangers, especially if they want to make some changes over the summer. What do they do with the kids? Do they move a big contract out? Because I don't think they're a contender. I think they're a good team with some high-end talent. But I don't see them as a Stanley Cup contender. I see them as a team that coasts through the regular season. As my buddy Nick Zerara says, and follow him on Twitter and read his work because he's great. He literally said they have a field trip chaperone as their head coach. And when he said that on his show last night, I started dying. Like I had never thought of something like that before. Where he shows up, he watches everyone, and he doesn't really coach. So, but again, if the Rangers make some changes, I could really see them regressing next season, and that's a team that I would look for to seeing the Penguins really potentially leapfrog. That was just a terrible effort by the Rangers. I did not like the way they played. No one else showed up except the goalie, Barclay Goodrow. If you want to argue, that's crazy to even say that. Their star players got destroyed. Congratulations to the Devils' first series win since 2012. That should be a fun series with Carolina. Florida, Toronto right now is having fun. Looks like, last I checked, I believe it was 1-1. I'm checking the score right now just to see. It looks like Matthew Nye has got a goal. So the Panthers, it's 2-1 now. Sam Bennett scored. So 2-1. The other late game is Seattle, Dallas. Gonna be a fun second round though. lot of teams here you usually don't expect. There's going to be the team that wins the cup is not going to have won a Stanley Cup in over 15 years. Yes. Go through the teams. The earliest cup drought right now, if I'm not mistaken, is the Hurricanes in 2006. Yep. Weird times right now. Are the ratings going to be weird? Sure. Honestly, though, I don't give a damn. I don't. I'm sorry. Even if the Penguins were playing in the second round right now and say they replaced, I don't know, Carolina or New Jersey or Florida, whatever, the ratings would probably still not that. They'd be a little bit better because the Penguins are in. Pittsburgh's a massive market for hockey. But even if they were in, the ratings would still not be good. But again, I wouldn't care. It's cool to have fresh, new teams in there. I will never apologize for being, for liking upsets. It's cool. Sure. Does the better regular season team not win at times? Yeah. I don't care. I don't. These series are going to be really fun. I'm excited to watch them. And again, in terms of the Rangers for the Metropolitan Division next season, I could see them taking a pretty big step back if they do make some big changes and they get a new coach, especially one that's not as good. It doesn't even have to be. It doesn't have to be Quenneville if he gets reinstated. It could be someone like Daryl Sutter. Really funny if they got Alain Vigneault. There's just not a lot of good coaches out there. So that would also be kind of interesting. One more note I'll leave you all on. I know some people saw Andy Strickland's tweet today saying like, "Oh, wouldn't be surprised if the Penguins and Stan Bowman, blah 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 blah." I am sorry, people. I mean, I'll never claim to have many inside sources. When I hear stuff, though, I will pass it along. But do y'all really think that Andy Strickland, who is a Blues radio host or analyst, whatever, he works for the team, do Yins think he has inside sources for Fenway Sports Group and the Pittsburgh Penguins? No. He's putting it out there because he's doing an agent a favor. That's all this is. Let's wait for actual reporting to come out there about this search, about who they've interviewed. Remember, Penguins can ask and interview anyone during this process. It's just up to the other team to allow them, that. So that'll do it for this episode of the Locked On Penguins podcast. I really appreciate all of you listening / watching. Let me know what you all think down in the comments. You can also send me DMs and all that. I'll have another episode for you all on Wednesday. We'll start the bottom 6 player reviews. Then we'll get to the defensemen and the goalies. And we'll also get into some other Penguins topics as well. So thank you all so much for listening / watching. Really appreciate it. Let's do another one of these on Wednesday.